We then proceeded at that point into our simulated countdown.
Lunchtime, kids! All right!
Yum, 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 yum.
Hello, friends. It's lunchtime.
Hello, friends, indeed. This is Josh with Zach and Matt. Anna is on vacation off somewhere in an exotic locale.
London.
Yeah, doing what she does. Just a little. She just came back from Europe, like not too long ago.
Yeah.
Can't keep her in the office.
No.
That's true.
Gallivanting around town.
That'll reflect on a review at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
You spent how many days in London now?
Too many. That's all. So before we start talking about other things, we have a phenomenal show planned for you today. One of the things that caught my eye in the description was the quit playing in dumpsters.
Yeah.
Sorry, swimming. Quit swimming in dumpsters.
Yes.
Right. It's one of those things that you wouldn't think you had to say.
You wouldn't think so, but this is Philadelphia we're talking about.
Yeah.
I got the details on this one. So in Philly over the weekend, some fine folks having a traditional block party, as you do, right? We're barbecuing, and
Sure.
somebody got the brilliant idea to rent a large like dumpster that you'd put in trash in.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. So they rented this independently. This is like in classic Philly fashion. They did not actually just go find a dumpster and like empty it out. Like, no, this came clean, right? They power washed the inside. All right. They lined the inside with plywood and like tarps, and they lined the corners and the edges with pool noodles. All right. So they essentially made a makeshift pool, and this is I think where they're really getting in trouble with the city. They popped a fire hydrant to fill it with water.
Yeah, I don't think you should probably do that.
Right. That seems to be the biggest issue. And the city of Philadelphia issued a statement. They said, while we don't encourage anybody to make pools out of dumpsters, that is a bad idea in general, and you just shouldn't do that. Definitely don't pop a hydrant, because that messes with water, like the main line. You might blow it because of pressure, and if there's a fire down the street, they're not going to have pressure to like put it out. So that was really the big issue.
I didn't know you could find a non-dumpster pool in Philadelphia.
I didn't know you could swim in hydrant water. I didn't know that was a thing. I was under the impression hydrant water is like the water that's up in the sprinklers and the ceilings in any average building.
No.
Like it's not clean. You shouldn't drink that water. It's not clean water. That's not meant to be
Well, it's
like
probably not the cleanest water, but like, I don't
clean
know.
drinking water. That doesn't have to meet any kind of sanitary standards by FDA guidelines
Look at
or
these
anything.
people. Do these people care about clean sanitary water?
I love the guy on the tube in the back just doing his own thing. Like specifically brought a tube to float on in your dumpster.
I really
pool.
like the guy on the right that's standing outside with like his fedora on, and just I don't know what he's doing over there. But he's
sure.
clearly here to party.
And shout out to the man down in the foreground with the cool Bowser backpack with his Hawaiian
Man,
shirt.
yeah, look at him.
Yeah, these people came correct. I think we can all appreciate that. I don't have much
How
more.
do you get in there?
Well, I guess you just. I mean, there's a ladder on the side, right? You just hoist yourself in.
I guess, or just
Here's
lift
the
yourself
thing.
up.
If I'm at a
Healthier
block
people
party,
might be able
here's
to
the
lift
thing.
here's the
themselves up.
thing. If I'm at a block party and I show up and they have this thing already going with water, and I had a suit, I'd probably jump in. Yeah,
in.
why not? For the photo
I'm
op,
not
yeah.
proud.
Take a picture, tweet
Yeah.
it. Check me out in my dumpster pool.
Yeah.
The germ, and not to be that guy, but the germs alone in that thing can't be great.
You mean from the people, or just from the fact that it's
Well,
a dumpster?
again, they're from Philadelphia, but no,
It's the
I
first
mean
bath
from
they've had this
from
week.
the actual dumpster, like from the actual dumpster itself, a place that is known to hold trash,
Right.
hold garbage, hold waste. Dead bodies have been found in dumpsters.
Sure.
Probably this very one. Again, it's
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Right.
So it's one of those kind of things. You don't just put water in something and then go, well, it's clean now. Like,
Well, again, you power wash, all right? And
they weren't power washing. They rented a dumpster to put trash in.
They said they power washed it. They said they power washed the inside and they lined it with multiple tarps, according to them. So
Well, there you go.
With that kind of preparation,
Well.
what would keep you from hopping in? You know what I mean? You probably don't even need a suit.
I love that
Just
it's got
go
a big
for it.
Pabst sign on it as well.
Right, I'm pretty sure that's a Pabst beach towel that they strung across
okay.
there because, of course, they don't have any kind of actual flag.
make do.
I love
Yeah.
it. Oh, God.
I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to hop out, do a quick tour. What do you guys have
wow.
on the docket next for the lunch break show?
What do we have on the docket next for the
Real
lunch
real
break
quick,
show?
Oh, dear God. We're going back to this.
The
Go ahead.
ratio of women to men in there, it is 10 guys and 4 women. So props to the women.
But how many
good
of
for
those
you.
guys are actual, like, suited, like, suitable suitors? None.
Oh, no,
not the
none.
guy, not the guy in the back wall with the hairy chest and the gold scarf. Not the guy with a giant, out of control, like wavy hair. Like I spotted 4 or 5 guys that are automatic no's.
Sure.
Anyone that's in that pool is automatically out of the running to be a potential partner for any of those girls.
Yeah.
I thought that one guy in the far right might be wearing a GoPro head mount just for grins, like getting good footage in there. Either way,
Yeah.
yes. Coming up on the show, Josh is going to duck. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what we're going to talk about
I've
yet.
got
You got something?
I've got a tease. Would you wake up if a rat was eating your foot? One guy did not. We'll have that story coming up.
I love it. I love it.
Shortly.
That more when we come back right after this.
And we are back on the lunch break. Finally, I've escaped from my tomb, and I'm here to host the show briefly.
One chair over.
What a great opportunity for me to lay out my political agenda.
Yeah, please hit us.
I love that line.
Hit us with your manifesto.
It's a Danny DeVito line from Sunny. Anyway, I got to be honest. I don't know what this tease is about, so I'm hoping you can help me out a little bit. A rat
yeah.
eating a foot.
This comes to us from, I'm assuming, England. Dateline, England.
Oh, dear.
Former English soccer star Gary Mabbutt. Who's not a fan of Gary Mabbutt?
Sure.
I
Mab.
watched him when I was a kid. Yeah, the Mad Mab.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Gary Mabbutt, of course.
Yeah.
He says that one morning during a recent trip to South Africa, he awoke to find a rat chewing on his foot. And I don't just mean chewing on his foot. I'm talking about it had bit his toe down to the bone.
Oh, God.
It had eaten part of his toe.
Wow. All
Now,
right.
He claims. I'm not gonna doubt his claims
Yeah.
here. I assume he's telling the truth. He claims to have type 1 diabetes and has very little feeling.
Oh, nice.
Feeling
Nice.
in
That's-
his foot. Yes,
yeah.
our rat friend is here chewing through the screen. He claims to have very little feeling in his foot, which is why he didn't wake up immediately when the rat had bitten into his foot down to the bone. But good grief, what a horrible way to wake up. I've woken up with like bugs on me, and I've flipped out. I can only imagine waking up and seeing a rat actively eating my foot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one, it's funny that he's a soccer player, because I would wonder
Sure.
if you lose a little feeling down there,
would
right?
think
If you
so.
literally kick things for a living, like
Maybe.
eventually a long enough timeline. But it is convenient he has type 1 diabetes, so he wouldn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Even still, dude, if you don't have feeling in your foot with type 1 diabetes, you should be in a hospital is where you should be. Like, not in, where was he, Africa?
He was in South Africa.
Yeah, you're in the wrong place, man. Like, I don't want to say you had that rat coming, but like you
Yeah.
had that coming. You know what I mean?
So this rat apparently was on quite a tear because it bit his daughter first.
Oh.
His daughter, the rat bit her thumb. She woke up, ran to tell her dad, and woke him up and found out that the rat was then gnawing on his big toe.
All right. I don't know a whole lot about the wildlife in South Africa, but I was always under the impression that if there was anywhere I didn't want to go in the world to get murdered by an animal or bug, it would be Australia. South
Yeah.
Africa, though, it's up there. I don't know if I'd want to dance with South Africa. Like, I don't know how I'm about that. I've heard
There's
some
got to be
stories.
something gnarly going on, right?
Yeah, they got. I don't know, but either way, I can't say if somebody's like, "Hey, come down to South Africa and bring your kid." I'd really want to be into that, especially if I was like, it's funny. I haven't had a whole lot of feeling in my foot, but let's do that. Let's go. That'll be great.
Yeah, gosh, I can't. I wouldn't be taking any more trips. Apparently, he's recovering in the hospital. I don't know what they can do with the toe. I mean, if it chewed off that much, I guess that's bad news for your toe. I don't know, but
I mean, there's a couple reasons to go to a hospital when a rat has chewed off part of your toe in South Africa. One, your bone is now exposed. So just
Yeah.
first and foremost, you need to go get that bandaged. Two,
Probably need to go
it
get
was a
that looked
rat
at.
in South Africa. You need to get that looked at. And three, to me, arguably the most important, you didn't know that was happening. Like, if you don't know that part of your foot is being eaten by an
Yeah.
animal, like my friend, you might have bigger problems than
let's
the
take
animal.
a closer look at his foot.
Yeah, like what is happening there? So that's wild. My gosh. Did you hear about this? This probably isn't something we should talk about, but did you hear about this undercover Detroit police bungle in Detroit?
I saw the headline. I didn't read
Okay.
the
So,
story.
and it's multiple cops, which is why I think it's worth talking about. A group of undercover Detroit police, all right, Detroit, posing as drug dealers, tried to arrest another group of undercover police posing as drug buyers.
I love this.
And not only did they just have have a scuffle where it's, hey, no, we're cops. No, we're cops. Legitimately got in a fist fight. Cops went to the hospital. Like, they couldn't sort this out. Backup cops showed up to help beat on the other cops because they were from different districts, 11 and
Yeah.
12. They're not all, directly coworkers. Hilarious.
Do you
How
think
does
at
this
some point?
happen?
Do you think at some point one group understood the? Well, I mean, clearly one group understood that they were cops, but did the ones that were undercover or the ones that were beating up the undercover cops realize at some point, hey, I think these are cops, but let's get a few shots in anyway because we can have some plausible deniability here.
At least a few cops in that bunch had to have. Yeah, somebody somewhere realized, wait, this guy's a cop, and then went for the sucker punch again.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only
I
way.
get it.
It's the only way that something like that happens.
It reminds me of the scene in the great movie, the great classic Point Break, where
sure.
they execute a drug raid on a house and they run into Tom Sizemore posing as a drug dealer, and he's all mad, which that's insane because that gets into a giant shootout, which how he's not killed, but still,
You're right. I forgot about that.
it it happens in real life too, folks.
It does. The precinct officer said, he had a great line about this. What did he say? He said, this is the most... Basically, he said this is incredibly embarrassing. I can't find the quote, I'll be honest. But it is almost as embarrassing as me not being able to find that. Cops went to the hospital. And what's funny about this to me, the funniest thing, something similar like this happened in 1986, and 2 cops died.
Oh,
like,
good
they
Lord.
shot each other. Yeah. Undercover cop. Like, is there no code word? Is there no operation where somewhere
Yeah.
along the way you realize,
Like
wait,
bananas.
this
Like, if I
person's a
start
cop
yelling
too.
bananas.
Yeah. Or so, I don't know. Start shouting. Tippy toe. Like, you don't just start shouting like a code word per se, but
Yeah.
you'd think there'd be some kind of lingo worked in, not like Mission Impossible style, but some phrase you drop somewhere that if another cop hears that, hey, that's a cop. Like some kind of secret code word. You know, if I go to Walmart and somebody dies in aisle 6, they call it a code brown or something. Like, they don't say somebody died in aisle 6. They have some kind of
That just sounds
arbitrary language
miserable.
around. Oh, doesn't it though? They have some kind of arbitrary language around
brown.
it. You'd think cops would have something like that. We were talking
Right.
about being undercover, some kind of like, hey, just a feeler here, like an arbitrary statement. Maybe this isn't what it says, what it seems. You know, apparently not. And I like that Detroit cops are so convincing in playing drug dealers and drug buyers they couldn't spot each other. What do you look like when somebody's like, well, you certainly look like a drug dealer to me. I would never guessed it. You were a cop, and you're a cop. How do you not pick up on that?
It's not just a guy with a mustache, but wearing sort of a tattered T-shirt.
They
or something
had to
like
have
that,
had grills and I don't know why I assumed drug dealers had grills. Guns, definitely.
Sure.
That comes with the territory.
I'm shocked it didn't get more violent. I really am shocked. Like, to start getting into a fist fight with another set of cops, like, you'd think at some point somebody was going to be like, all right, I need to control this situation. At least pull out a taser or something.
Yeah. And then I love that backup shows up and continues to wail on the other cops. Like, well, we gotta put this to bed, and then just like gets out the stick and starts. Oh God.
All right.
Tremendous. I suppose we should probably go to break.
Yeah,
that would be.
let's take a break.
All right, we're gonna go to break.
As for a tease, what happened to Monkey Mondays? Find out what happened to Monkey Mondays. Coming up next.
Welcome back to the lunch break. Monkey Mondays. Gonna be honest, I'm still looking for this story. So moment you can fill
got it
me
here.
in while I'm
We've
finding
also
it.
got Josh Cam. Oh no, wait, oh no, you can barely see him outside.
See, this is what I was. Yeah, I was
window.
gonna say. Josh was supposed to come back for this segment, and he bailed. He said, "Well, one more." I was like, "All right, Josh. I will hold down this fort. Really, Matt will hold down this fort. You're the only one who's actually got stuff together, and we'll turn Josh Cam on." That was my idea. I said, "Let's turn the camera, and we'll get Josh Cam so you can see." And he saw me do it, and then he ducked.
And then he's literally hiding around.
Did not want to be
around
on
the
Josh
car.
Cam. You can see him over there.
is.
There he goes.
Yeah, there he is.
Yep.
We'll
that's
catch him.
Yeah. We'll
Also,
keep
that's
you
right
updated.
outside our lobby. We'll turn that into stair cam here.
More on Josh at 12:30.
That's not nice to call him a moron.
But for
That's not very kind.
more on Josh at 12:30.
More on Josh. Back.
Between now and then, we're going to talk about Monkey Mondays.
Monkey Mondays.
What-
Who doesn't
what is
want-
Monkey Mondays
Who doesn't
all
want
about?
to go to? Who doesn't want to go to Carrabba's Italian Grill in Stuart, Florida, to celebrate Monkey Mondays?
Is
If
that
there's
when this
any-
happened?
That is what was happening. A Florida restaurant, again, Carrabba's Italian Grill in Stuart, Florida, was holding I guess a long time tradition. I'm not really sure how long this was going on, but a tradition at least called Monkey Mondays, when a couple of regulars, Mary and Richard Van Houten, they have Jojo, which is a capuchin monkey, and they would bring the monkey into the restaurant, which is wheels off to begin with. Like, are you really going to go to a restaurant that's allowing monkeys to just come hang out? Like, I'm not sure. I don't know what the scene is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
around the Carrabba's.
Or in Florida.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
in Stuart, Florida. Maybe that's par for the course. I'm not really sure. But I might avoid a restaurant that has monkeys running around. Anyway, Mary, Richard Van Houten, they were bringing in JoJo. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves Monkey Mondays until the young 8-year-old Jackson Ignelzi. And I'm going to say his name is spelled Jaxson.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to let that slip
Nope,
by.
nope.
Little Jackson Ignelzi was trying to play with JoJo, and the monkey bit his finger. Now, I don't think it ate it down to the bone like our last story, but it did bite his finger. The couple said they did warn him to be careful because JoJo was a little hyper that day, a little wound up. You know, Carrabba's, they gave him a martini or something like that to try to calm him down, but it didn't work. He did get a cut on his finger, but JoJo wasn't up to date on his rabies vaccine.
Mandatory rabies vaccination.
Like,
and
I mean, come
he
on,
wasn't up to
people.
date.
Look, we were going to go last weekend to get our cat. We have a mean cat who doesn't like to have his claws trimmed.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, we're going to bite the bullet. We're going to pay the $20 and go get his claws trimmed at a professional place.
Yeah.
And even that, like just a cat, which we know that we take care of, we still called the vet to make sure, hey, we're up to date on our rabies, right? Like before we go in here. Because if he wasn't and something happened, that'd be bad news.
Right.
If you have a monkey that you're literally bringing into public at all times, why are you not keeping up to date with your monkey's rabies vaccination?
Right. It's not only is it just an animal, it's an exotic animal. Like, really? That's not on the top of your mind? Like, oh, I need to go get those vaccinations updated? Like, how do you miss that?
Yeah.
And the answer is you don't. It's just irresponsible on the case of the Van Houtens in Florida to bring an unvaccinated rabies monkey in to eat at a Carrabba's. Now, to be fair, didn't necessarily have rabies, but I guess two here. I want to make sure we get through all of this. Carrabba's? Really? Of all places, they're just cool with that? Like, I've never known Carrabba's to be a traditionally... Like, a McDonald's would kick out a monkey, I think. A McDonald's would have a problem with that. But, I mean, who am I kidding? No,
I would have
probably not.
I would have thought, I don't know where Stuart, Florida is. I'm not sure if it's on the coast or anything like that. It might not be.
It's in Florida. That's what's important.
But I would have thought you'd go to a place that has, I don't know, maybe a patio, something like that, little place outside.
Yeah.
Where you're not bringing the monkey inside the doors of the facility. You're just sitting out on the patio furniture, and you're having your food out there. And hey, anybody that wants to come by the patio for Carrabba's or not Carrabba's, but some other place, the Beachfront Grill, and come check out the monkey on Monkey Mondays and buy a drink while you're at it. That makes sense to me. But yeah, having the monkey inside the restaurant, of course it's going to happen. Why isn't this going to, well, of course the monkey's going to bite somebody.
Right. This is the next point I want to get to. The folks at Carrabba's should not be encouraging this behavior from monkey owners, all right? Do not, like, if these are the kind of people that not only bring their monkey out in public because they want the attention, because of course they do.
Of course.
They also let kids play with it and pet it. Dude, what are you doing? Like, you're setting yourself up for a disaster here, which... This isn't necessarily a disaster, but considering the kid could have gotten monkey rabies, I mean, almost a disaster, I think, is safe to say. And you're just kind of like, you're just letting it happen. You're just letting that go. I mean, you're not advertising Monkey Mondays. You're not making ads about it. It's just kind of a fun in-house thing, and that's fine. But at the very least, if you're going to allow somebody to bring their spectacle of an attention getter out in public, don't let other people touch it. Like, that doesn't make sense. Don't do that.
I'm not a super advocate for allowing people to bring their dogs everywhere, but there are times when I'm out in public with, I went to the pet store and I have my dog with me.
Sure.
And it would be nice to be able to take the dog and say, stop at a 7-Eleven, grab a snack, and go. It'd be nice, so I don't have to, I'm not going to leave my dog in the car. Mm-hmm. So it'd be nice to pop into a store real quick and get something, but they're not going to let me in. They're not going to let me in. Even a well-behaved dog is not going to be let in to 7-Eleven. So it irks me a little bit that Carrabba's, who would have turned me away if I showed up with my beagle, and says, no, we're going to let this capuchin monkey in because it's Monkey Mondays and we can at least make it alliterative. I'm not, that frustrates me that monkeys get special dispensation.
Lastly,
Yeah.
this kid.
Yeah, this kid.
Jackson Ignelzi. The name is spelled Jackson.
What are you doing?
What you want to go for is the Jackson, right?
Of course.
Like Jack, like Jack and Jill. But instead you went Jax, and then son, son. All right. I appreciate people wanting to have unique names. I get it. You want your kid to have a unique standout name, but like somewhere along the way you need to understand like your kid is going to get made fun of. All right? Like that's going to happen. And the goofier your kid's name looks, the higher likeliness that is. I saw another story in here that had a statement from a girl who was going to a school about something. I don't know if we'll get to it later. We might. Her name was Lexus, like the car. And I'm like... Like spelled Lexus. I'm like, what you're looking for was Alexis. Like that would have been
Right.
correct. But You see what you see, like the problem you run into, and I feel like a lot of parents, they want their kids to stand out and be different and be extraordinary, and I get that, and I'm sure your kids are. I believe it. I'm not a kid. I'm not a kid owner, so fine. But when I hear a story about cool, unique Jackson repeatedly messing with a monkey and a Carrabba's on a Monday, like it doesn't. It's like 90% monkey, 10% kid, right? And the more
it might be more than 10% Jackson's fault.
Then when I find out it's the way his name is spelled and the fact that he was persistent about it, suddenly I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's not so much the monkey, maybe it's the kid. You know, I don't know where his parents were. Obviously, not doing a great job. Big surprise. And that's all I got to say about Jack Signelzi. I guess you got anything?
I just got the naming conventions for children these days, especially you go to some places, go to a Central Market sometime and hang around and try to listen to what the moms are calling their kids, and the amount of Prixleys and just different, again, X's where there should be CKs, or just names that make absolutely no sense, will drive you up the wall. I mean, Christine commenting here with Lakin or Aiden. Like, come on. It was spelled with Y's, by the way, not like Aiden.
You know
like
somebody with Lakin? I don't have my phone and I can't see your comments.
But yeah, like that kind of stuff drives me up the wall. It's just like, name your kid something that will.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine. Again, I always try to fast forward 80 years in that person's life, and then your little Ainsley is in the retirement home with, I guess, a bunch of other people named a stupid name like they are. But come on, give it a break.
I mean, I feel the exact similar, but I'm not looking 80 years ahead. I'm looking like 25 when they're getting out of college, or maybe even 20 in this case, when they're getting out of college and looking for a job. And like, I'm sorry, I know we shouldn't be particularly. There's no reason anybody should be biased based on how their name is spelled. I get that, but at the same time, like. Humans manage to find a lot of reasons to be biased against each other, and a lot of them are very, very, very poor reasons to not like another person. And when you're looking at two resumes, and one is a name like that's relatively normal, that whoever is probably looking to fill this position, probably a person older, maybe from a previous generation, is looking at, and they're trying to decide between Matt and Lakin. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Blade with a Y.
For that person hiring at that position, that might be enough for them to go, you know what? I don't want to dance with that. And for Lakin, hey, good for you, man, because that wouldn't be a job you'd want to work at anyway. You don't want to work for somebody like that Joe. What do you want to do with him? But like, you're reducing your scope here. Just a little bit, just that little much. And I get it. Like, your kid is unique and special, and like, that's great, and I'm glad. And if I ever run into somebody in person, they introduce their kid to me and their name is I don't know what, I'm never gonna say any of this. Of course, no. I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna be cool about it. And I appreciate that you're going for like a cool, unique name, but like, there has to be some realm of like normalcy where suddenly you cross a line and it's like, nah, okay, that's a little too much, you know?
Yeah.
I'd argue Jackson is it. Jackson. Like, just.
You think Jackson grows up and just wants to change his name? Or goes by his middle name, which his middle name may be worse. I have no idea. Or goes by Jack or something like that.
I would assume he would go by Jack, right? I would
think so.
I mean, if he's
I guess he could go by Jax.
If he's real cool, he'll go by Jax.
Right, like if he grows up to be tough, which maybe this monkey bite toughens him up, like he could go by Jax, and that'd be kind of rad.
He's got to wait for his latent mutant powers to kick in,
right?
And then he'll have the power
monkey man. The power of the monkey.
Coming up next on the lunch break, I want to talk about this story that I had pulled up like 8 seconds ago and then lost on Dr. Dave's. So when we come back, more on that great story. Stay tuned on the lunch break. Welcome back to the lunch break. I'm Zach Lewis, joined by, of course, in the booth, Matt Stoker.
Yep. Checking the Josh cam still. Oh, no, wait, he's out there.
I think you spot him out there. Yeah,
I see him out there.
His back is explicitly turned, so he can't see us begging him to come back in studio. You know what? I don't know if we need him.
Oh, we don't
to
need
be
him.
honest,
I
I
just
think
want
we'll be
to
okay.
keep an eye on him.
That's right. So this story you found, and I'm going to read it as if it's mine, but I want to give credit where it's due.
ahead.
Tofurkey, Tofurkey, sues to call itself meat. Yes, the vegan food brand has filed a lawsuit defending the right to market its products as meat, even though it doesn't contain livestock. Now, on this show, we have a history of defending things like Tofurkey, adamantly. And
I've never
not
had tofu. Have you ever had Tofurkey
I
or any
can't
of the tofu meats
okay.
thing?
I can't say I have, and I should make it clear. I'm not against good tofu. I've had good tofu.
I've had it
Tofu's
before.
good.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
But I never thought it wasn't tofu. It was advertised as tofu. I ate it as tofu. It's tofu. And in the case of Tofurkey, I would feel the same way. If I was going to order Tofurkey on a menu, I would think to myself, hey, this is not real turkey. It's tofu turkey. Makes sense to me. That sounds good. I know what I'm getting into. And that's part of where I think Missouri has drawn this line. That's kind of what they're building on, is the idea that you're advertising yourself as something you're not. You're saying you're meat, and there's no meat in your product, right? Now, I know it's plant-based protein, so you could argue it's protein, and I guess we can argue what meat is and isn't, but if you had to define a meat, Mr. Stoker, how would you do it?
It has meat in it.
All right,
that's
me
what
too.
I would say.
I think that's where I would land. Yeah,
It comes from an animal. I mean, like not to put too fine a point on it,
yeah.
but it comes from an animal. I would think.
What do you land on lab-grown meat?
Well,
Go
okay.
ahead.
I mean, lab-grown meat. I don't have a problem with it. I would absolutely try it. That gets into a weird, I guess, similar to this, where it may have a structure similar to meat, but I feel like that would have to be at least properly labeled. Like, you can't. My assumption is when I'm buying meat, I'm buying something that came from an animal. If it's lab-grown meat, which again I'm fine with, I would just expect it to say, hey, this is lab-grown meat, right? I'm curious, is lab-grown meat, is that vegan? Is that considered vegan?
Technically, it doesn't harm another animal.
We don't
right?
have anybody here on the show right now who is vegan. I would assume Anna might know something about that. She's not vegan, but I would assume
No, I
she's
think
at least plugged
Samantha
into
might be kind of vegan.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's watching
She might
right
be
now
able
that
to
can
find
fill us
line.
in on this, but I don't know. Maybe I would assume that it might be considered vegan. But anyway, I would at least expect it to say lab-grown sausage, lab-grown pork chops, lab-grown meat of some sort.
Right, and that's where these lines start to get blurred. The Missouri Cattlemen's Association, who supports the law of Missouri to not have lab-grown meat. Oh gosh, I think he's coming back. Believe it or not.
Oh, what is this? Josh Cam?
Josh Hart.
Don't do that to me.
Here he comes. He's coming in.
Hey, there it is. Hey,
Joshua
look at that.
Hart, back
Look at
from
that.
the dead. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How'd things go?
It went well.
Oh, good.
Well, it's a little, yeah. I had to give a tour, and people are off.
Were they
and-
impressed by?
Oh, obviously. They said, "Is that Zach and Matt? Like, that is Zach and Matt in there."
Yeah.
And they were over.
Don't bother them. Don't look them in the eye.
Yeah.
at all.
Divert your gaze.
Well, we're glad to have you back. Let me catch you up, and for anybody on Facebook who missed the beginning of the story,
You're just tuning
Tofurkey
in.
sues to call itself meat. The vegan food brand has filed a lawsuit defending the right to market its products as meat, even though it doesn't contain livestock. Tofurkey, of course, tofu turkey.
Yeah.
We were talking about lab-grown meat and where we land on that whole thing. We've talked about it before on this show. The Missouri Cattlemen's Association, who supports this Missouri law that is saying Tofurkey cannot label itself as meat, they're stating that Tofurkey making its ingredients clear isn't the problem. It's that they're worried about the future of scientifically grown meat. And they want to draw that line now. They want to say, listen, like meat, and specifically beef and meat are the two words they're really stuck on. They said beef and meat should be reserved for animals. That's it. Like, otherwise, you need to come up with your own words for anything else. And I'm kind of where you're at. In the case of lab-grown meat, if I'm at the store in 5 or 10 years and I can buy a steak or a lab-grown steak, I would like, frankly, the words lab-grown printed somewhere on there.
I think it
Just
needs
let
to
me
be.
know.
Yeah.
Just-
Just LG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
LG beef.
sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Little
put
LGB.
I don't know, some kind of colored sticker or something, like just some indication to me, the consumer, that it is not the same as the others.
Well,
that's all.
If I'm trying to make an informed choice and choosing to buy lab-grown meat,
Yeah.
then I need that. I would need that pointed out to me, right? Like you need to have that label,
Right.
Otherwise, I don't know if I'm actively seeking out lab-grown meat. I'm gonna want to know.
Right. The Missouri Cattlemen's Association is saying you can't use the term meat at all. You got to come up with your own word. I'm okay with it with the disclaimer in the front, I think.
Maybe they spell it like MYAT or something. Meat.
That's always been my issue though at vegan places is they try to label things, and I get it from like a marketing issue or a branding issue. No, actually, I don't get it from a marketing issue or a branding issue because here's the deal.
Right.
You're trying to say, hey, this is like chicken, but if anyone is there, they shouldn't like chicken because they're
That's not
vegan.
what they're coming to look for.
Yeah,
Right.
and so just call it something else and have it be your own like vernacular that you have in a vegan restaurant. Don't put meat and don't put beef and don't put chicken spelt weird up on the board because it's not. It's not that. Create your own thing. Be creative. Be inventive. Invent your own dish, and I'll be totally on board.
One of my favorite things to do at a grocery store is to go through like the frozen aisle.
Yeah.
And you'll see things like chicken wings, but it's spelled WYNGZ.
Yeah.
And it's not that the reason that is not because of just some clever branding. It's because they're legally required to not call it chicken wings. Because it's not a chicken wing. Like whatever you're buying is probably breast meat or something like that.
Yeah.
That's been formed to look like a chicken, like a chicken nugget.
Yeah.
And sold as chicken wings, but they can't call them that. The FDA literally bans them from calling them wings, so they have to spell them WYNGZ.
Yeah.
And yeah, like your point is, I don't know why tofurkey wants to be called meat, or like you just say sausage style tofu, or meat or turkey style tofu, and people get what they're buying. Like I don't know why you
or
need
just
to.
protein. This is a protein-based soy component that you're putting in your mouth.
Right.
There you go. Here's
Our
your
future
protein unit.
cube.
Yeah, yeah,
Protein unit.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at the beginning of this. I'm like, I'm fine with tofu. I've eaten tofu. On occasion, I may order tofu. Right. But it's labeled as tofu. I know what I'm getting into. As a consumer, I can easily identify that at a moment's glance. Like, if you call it meat, like, you start to blur that line, and you're going to end up with people who are upset. You're going to end up with the guys running the Cattlemen's Association trying to defend their cattle.
I
slippery slope.
would love to see in East Texas some good old boy with a 10-gallon hat order himself a piece of beef, and you bring out tofurkey and put it down on his plate.
I mean, like, big.
Yeah, the look of horror that they would have. My wife gets tofurkey every year, by the way, for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
She gets the slices of tofurkey, and then they have the celebration loaf, which I love. That is a great name because it's not trying to say it's meat.
Yeah.
It is basically
Loaf.
a ball of meat with stuffing inside, and it's all vegan. But it's a celebration loaf. I'm totally on board with that.
Celebration
So
loaf.
we were discussing this before you walked in.
Yeah.
I don't think we reset this. Is lab-grown meat vegan? Do you living with a vegetarian in your household? Is she vegan? She's not. Full
She
vegan, right?
is vegetarian.
Okay.
I think it depends on. Again, not knowing anything about this, it depends on where it comes from. If you're getting it from like stem cells, arguably yes, right? Because you technically have to harm another creature for that to happen. But if somehow you manage to like concoct the God formula and produce flesh
Delicious
from
steak.
nothing, then I think you're good, right? Like that's.
But there's two different types of vegetarians, and I'm going to assume vegans. There's the type of vegetarians who, like my wife, she's not a vegetarian because of animal cruelty. She's a vegetarian because she doesn't like the taste.
Sure.
So for her, it wouldn't matter if it's lab grown or not.
Right.
To her, it's out.
right.
So if you're doing it because of animal torture, I would imagine you're still probably out just on the off chance of like this is still seems weird
It
to
wouldn't
me.
be. I guess it wouldn't be vegetarian because it's still red meat.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of it. Like you're just wanting to not eat red meat, whether or not if that's your reasoning for being a vegetarian,
Yeah.
right? Is for not eating red meat and not because of cruelty or whatever. But I guess the same way that eggs aren't vegan, then well, you're not necessarily harming
True.
anything by getting unfertilized eggs, then I guess lab-grown meat probably isn't.
If you didn't eat meat because you're a vegetarian and you didn't do it because you didn't like eating meat or whatever, or even if you did it for animal cruelty reasons and you didn't want to eat lab-grown meat, you'd probably still support it, right? Because
would
you're still
think
not
so.
harming animals. So at the end of the day, it's
think
still
so.
good for everybody, even if
a
it's
win.
not for
Yep.
you. Yeah. Lab-grown meat coming up,
There we
I
go.
guess. Yeah, that'll be a thing. Coming up next on the show, I'm excited about this one. A survey finds that 46% of Americans aren't happy with their paycheck, and we have Josh back to grill him on it. Coming up next on the lunch break.
And it looks like we're not going to have time to get into the pay scale of most Americans. Unfortunately, I really wish we could get into that. I would love to have that conversation.
It's a great
Hunting like
yeah.
a wimp.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about this, though. So we talked about, like, a couple of weeks ago, the schools all across America, different school districts are banning sodas. No more sugary sweets. No
Right.
more. You
No
can't
more
buy
fast
Coke.
foods.
Yeah, no more fast foods. No more candy bars in the vending machines. They're cutting down on the sugars.
How dare they?
How dare they? I actually don't mind this. I think it's great. But here, you kind of like you think you solve a problem, where really what you do is you create a market. Much like what they found when they outlawed alcohol here in the United States.
Sure.
If the demand is high enough, well then by golly, people are going to act accordingly.
Yeah, it's like the war on drugs. Worked out great.
Yeah, it worked out great.
Totally won. Yeah.
Ha ha. Mission accomplished. A school resource officer, which if you're unfamiliar with that, to my knowledge, that means you're a police officer on campus. You're like the school cop.
Sure.
Gets caught illegally selling soda to students.
Illegally.
Yeah.
What when you outlaw soda, only outlaws have sodas. This is,
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And so this cop in West Haven, so that's in Connecticut, was there, and you'd walk into his office. I'm imagining. I haven't read the story yet. I'm just reading the headline as usual. But you walk into his office and you pay the guy. He gives you a soda. I'm sure it's not like a secret knock you have to do. Hopefully there's like a code name. If you want like a soda or like a 7-Up or like a Coke, Dr. Pepper, it's like a code name.
I'm
you
here
have
to talk
give.
to Mr. Pot.
Oh, all right.
This guy was collecting a Connecticut police officer pension. Okay, he was stocking Big K and Dr. Shasta. Like
Right,
he didn't have
yeah.
anything good.
My
It was all
question,
knockoff
my
soda.
question is, if you're doing that, if it's outlawed on campus, if you're selling soda, how are you getting away with it? Well, I guess he's not getting away with it, but how are you as a child not immediately getting caught when you walk out of this guy's office
Yeah.
and carrying a soda?
Well,
Obviously, you can't hide that.
You have to there on site, toss the can.
Does he
and
put
go.
it in a brown paper bag?
Right. Like, did the school call a referendum against soda in general, or can parents still put soda in like a kid's bag?
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Because if it's in general, you got a problem. You're right. But if they can bring it from home, and I would imagine they could, because like it's America and freedom. I don't know. then it was probably fine. It was just like, oh, I brought this from home or whatever,
Yeah.
or maybe they just drank it back behind the school, back
Yeah.
under the bleachers. That's what they were
Bleachers,
doing.
drinking
Yeah,
soda.
Yeah.
drinking soda.
So I've actually dug into the story a little bit. The superintendent of the school says it's not the attention that we want to bring to our school, but unfortunately, we did find out. Apparently, like the first day, immediately that they found out this guy was doing it. So he sold like 4 cans of pop and was shut down, hardcore. And they called and put an end to it. The cops still there. Everything's back to normal. Like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah. So at least the cop got out of it. Man, by the sound of it, that article made it really seem like they were cracking down hard.
Yeah.
Like they were putting a stop to this illegal moonshiner of a soda salesman. It was
black
ridiculous.
market.
It's a rap on the knuckles, right? Like
Yeah.
funny, don't do it again. Like that's all that takes.
I will say this: when I was in football in my peak, which was the seventh grade, there you go.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, 7th grade.
Yeah,
it was a good
boom.
time.
Our football coach sold sodas and candy bars out of a fridge in his office,
Yeah.
and for $1. This was $1 then, like then dollars, not like now dollars.
A then dollar.
A then
Yeah.
dollar back when I was in 7th grade, so 94, 95, I don't know. For $1 for a Coke and $1 for a candy bar. You know, he was
Is this a
racking up.
can?
Yeah,
can?
a 12-ounce can.
Oh, and he's going to Costco, or he's going
Yeah.
to Sam's, I guess,
Sam's,
probably.
yeah, come on.
He was cleaning
Yeah,
up.
he's not going to Costco. What
Wow.
are we talking
Yeah.
about? But yeah, he's going to Sam's and
Bulking up. This guy
Yeah.
This guy could have easily doubled because every person that had PE had to get changed in that room. He would just open up the fridge and sit there with his hand out and hand out Cokes and candy bars all
anybody ever try
day
to break
long.
into that thing?
No, he had a lock on it.
Okay.
He was smarter than that. And I think you knew, like, there weren't cameras in there because it was a locker room. But I think you knew, like, I would clearly get caught.
Right. One of my teachers in middle school ran a candy shop after school got out. So you go by her room, and it was the same kind of thing where you'd pay $1 and you'd get,
Bag of
whatever
candy.
Yeah, whatever. Well, it was packaged candy, so it's